Today we're going to talk about propagating a plant by taking a cutting, or cloning as it's more commonly referred to. It's a nice way to carry on a plant that you know you like. It allows you to preserve sort of the genes of the parent plant rather than going by seed, which is a whole bunch of new ones. So we're going to show you how to do that.
So we're going to start using, we're going to sacrifice 3 little tomato plants here just to give you an idea on how, where the best place is to take a cutting. And then we're going to show you, we have 3 different types of rooting gel. So this is a 3% acid. And
this is a hormone that's going to tell your plant that it needs to do something. It's going to send signals to it that tells it to send cells where they need to go to make new roots.
This is a root tech gel, and it's 5.5%. It's a little bit stronger acid. So what you'll notice the difference is when you're doing the cuttings is that you'll see when you use a little bit stronger acid that the bottom of the cutting will form a little bulb, and then all the roots will burst out sort of at the same time. And then if you use a little bit weaker acid like this, you'll see hair roots coming on and off different sides of the stem. And then this one here is a powdered. This is the one that's been around for 100 years. It's just a little pink powder, and all of them work the same. It's just different, I guess it's personal preference, yeah.
So yeah, exactly. They're all doing the same thing.
Yeah, some people prefer the powder, some people prefer the gel. You don't need both. I know a lot of people that'll go and use powder and gel, but you're just it's like overkill, so you're doing the same thing twice.
And too much of this acid too can actually reverse the process you're trying to create. So that sometimes is the cause of some trouble when you're trying to get things to root, is just having too much of a good thing. So
yeah. So when you do your cutting, you're going to, let me see, we're going to try and show you on the camera here. This has a lot of little tomatoes on it, but you need to make sure you're cutting off the main stem, and that you're going to cut on a 45-degree angle with a new scalpel preferably, or one that has been cleaned with alcohol. Yeah. So in this case, I'm going to cut off these tomatoes, and then you're going to dip this cutting into the rooting hormone. Let's say for this one we'll use the powder, and you should always dip onto a piece of wax paper or something else, and you just barely need the end cut, and then just stick it into the Oasis or Rockwool or Jiffy pellets. It can go into any type of rooting material. What we don't have here is running water. Like ideally you could cut your cutting right under running water so that you prevent any embolism from forming in the cutting. Or if you take your cuttings and then go to root them, recut them and fresh cut underwater if you can.
Yeah, it's cleaner. It helps prevent the entry of disease, and like Jenny said, if you get air up in there, it ruins everything. Yeah. So underwater is always best, but we have no sink here.
And when you're using all these rooting hormones, make sure you tap them onto a piece of wax paper or something, so you never want to dip into your original bottle, because you'll get disease.
Contaminate everything, and it's a mess.
So
yeah.
Always better to tap out on a piece of wax paper, which we didn't have, so we used the tray, but yeah.
Not best practice.
Yeah.
So what you're looking for is a stem maybe 3 to 4 inches long that is enough to bury into your medium, because the key is darkness, and what's underneath in the medium is deprived of light, and it's going to start generating roots. We do have here some German ivy that we cloned. All right, so we have this jade plant here that we chose because it's really easy to show you a good spot to take your cuttings from. You do want to be just above a set of leaves, and that allows you enough room to stick a stem in your medium and create some vegetation to support the plant life as well. And then you just dip it in your gel, and you're going to stuff it in to your medium. There you go.
And good note to only put the cutting in, like it barely needs to hold itself up. So like 1/4 of an inch. Some people stick their cuttings in too deep and then
bury it, and they end up in a situation that is it opens you up to getting a lot of fungal infections with various types of things that are going around.
Yeah. So you're always cutting just above wherever the 2 leaves come out on the plant, you're always cutting just above that. So no matter what plant it is, you always cut the same way. 45-degree angle straight through, and then dip into your rooting gel, and then into the Oasis or Rockwool or Jiffy pellets, whatever it is that you want to root in.
Now we've taken our medium here and prepared it a little bit. We've moistened it with just water and a little bit of a kelp-based food. It's really mild, it's really gentle, and contains a lot of things that naturally promote the production of roots, so it does work really, really well for this particular application.
This is the example of the Jiffy pellet here, and that's after you soak it and it swells up. Takes about 15 minutes probably. And then this would be the Rockwool plugs that you can also root in. It has a little slit here on the side, so you can just gently put the cutting in. So, and then this is also Oasis, similar to what we were using in the cubes there. And then once these are ready, you'll know these aren't ready yet, but when they're ready, you'll see hair roots starting to come out the side, and then you know it's ready to be transplanted into
your
small,
at most 3.5-inch pot. You don't want to go too big.
Or if you're going into a hydro system, then you would transplant into the leca pellets or whatever the medium is that the hydro systems.
That's right. It's next stage.
Yep. Oh, and you should show them the kelp products.
Yeah. So this is a really, really nice local kelp-based food. Sea Boost, we use it everywhere in here. It is excellent. Again, like I said, it's just really gentle, really mild, and full of things that promote root growth anyway. So
I got sold on that way back. We had a mandevilla plant that was almost dead. There was no leaves whatsoever, and I treated it with that for a few days, and it came back to life, and it did awesome.
Yeah,
so,
no, it is magical.
And this one is made by Canna. It's Rhizotonic. It's also a kelp-based.
Very powerful root promoter.
Gives you those nice fine hair roots and makes amazing differences when you use these products on your roots. Especially if you just have a few little plants that you want to baby, and it's worth
really good care.
it's worth the extra money for just a couple of those good products. So,
all right, so now you've got them all cut. They're in their medium, and you need to keep them alive for a while they make their roots. You need to trap some of the humidity, so that's what one of these domes is for. You just pop that on, put it under some light, and let them grow.
And you want your humidity to be at 85% until you see a root. So that's really high. So
which this should maintain fairly easily. If you are having trouble maintaining humidity, occasionally that can be because it's quite cool. If you do warm the root zone, that can help as well, but it's not always necessary. It does depend on your particular environment.
And you may need to lift your dome and just mist once in a while just to make sure that humidity is staying up enough. But don't let the cuttings sit in water. Never leave water in the base of these trays. They'll just suffocate. So
yeah. So to recap, Jenny, what would you say maybe 3 or 4 things that are pretty critical when you're going through this process?
So when you're doing your cuttings, you want to make sure you use a sterile scalpel or cutting device that's very sharp and sterilized. Make sure you always do your cutting one way through. The reason that you cut one way through is so that you don't, if you use scissors, you pinch the cells and it bruises them, and then and then the cutting won't root properly. So always one way through, 45-degree angle. And the other thing is pre-soak your medium. Put your cutting in not too deep. Yeah, treat it with kelp-based fertilizer, and finally keeping your dome on top of your cuttings until you see roots. So 85% humidity.
Hopefully that helped you out a little bit, gave you an idea of some of the things you need to do to clone your plants. If you need any other information, you know where to find us.
Yeah, you can call the store or stop in, or go to our YouTube channel, which is scottsnursery.tv, and then go into the Scott's Ponics area for more of the indoor gardening videos.
Oh, and don't forget, like and subscribe.